Welcome to Activations with JJ, October 2023 monthly energy update. This month's update is quite unique, and you're going to find out why very soon. So let's go ahead and dive in so we can see what October has in store for us. Greetings, dear beautiful soul family. We have arrived to October 2023. We made it. And what is time anyway? You know, we're marking this linear time and we're kind of out of that, but it does give us an opportunity to sort of reset, look at the numerology of the month, check in with the zodiac signs and all those alignments that occur, and just check in with ourselves to see another 30-something days has passed. What has gone on in this incredible planetary and personal ascension journey that we are going through? I know that September for me was so expansive. As many of you know, I journeyed to Hawaii and then New Zealand in order to do some grid work and to connect with some beautiful starseeds in person. I love meeting in person. Just so many timeline upgrades, so many light body upgrades, all the things happened. And before I dive into the unique topic for October that I kind of hinted to in the intro, I do want to drop in and remind you about those themes that came through for September. And there were actually 4 themes. I want to do this as a way of reminding you and assisting you to do a little bit of a review to see if those themes want to extend forward into October for you. Maybe you still are working with some of those things. The first one was increased awareness of our emotional bodies. The second one was empowering sense of global interconnectedness. The third one was increased access to abundance. And the fourth theme for September 2023 was rebirth. Now, again, there's no such thing as time. And if any of these themes still jump out to you, I want to invite you to set the intention to continue to work with them throughout the month of October and beyond. Really, it's up to you and your own personal intuition as far as what your journey looks like. Now, that being said, I am going to shift into the theme for October 2023. As I was connecting in with my guides, I really felt the Star Mothers coming in very, very strongly. And there's a reason for that I'm going to let you know in just a little bit. Some of you might already know, but I have a surprise there. So there's kind of 2 surprises in this podcast episode. The Star Mothers came through and I tuned in and I just felt it drop in. And all of a sudden the theme became very, very clear. And even though the theme was very, very clear, it also wasn't very, very clear because it was kind of paradoxical. So what the Star Mothers said when I said, what are the themes for October? They said, well, first of all, there's only one theme. I was like, okay, all right, one theme. I could tell that they were doing this because we can get overwhelmed. Subconsciously, there's parts of us that are like, oh, there's so much, there's a list. So they're like, we're going to boil it down to one because there's a little overwhelm going on in the collective. I was like, okay, what is the one theme? Well, interestingly enough, the one theme was one word. And that word was you. Y-O-U. And the Star Mother said, we want you to tell them that the theme is you. And so as I kind of had this little back and forth discussion with my Star Mother guides, more information dropped in. But I want you to think about that particular just word for a moment, the word you. And I want you to feel the energy behind it as you take in that as the one singular theme for October 2023. And before I go off on all the details about what that meant, as I kind of broke down the idea of you as the theme, I want you to think about what that means. And you might even pause the podcast. You might journal for a moment, allow the Star Mothers or your guides to come through for you. But I want to just allow you that time and that space to integrate the word you. Now, I asked them for a little clarity because I said, this is going to be a very short podcast if I only have one theme and that theme is one word. So they said, okay, well, we understand that sometimes it helps to have a few pointers on how to really support that theme the idea of you. And so they kind of expanded on what they said, and I brought in more information. And we co-created the ideas that you're going to hear come forward in this episode. Not only that, but the Star Mothers offered to help me bring through another message, a fully channeled message directly from the Star Mothers with light language activation. And I typically do that every month anyhow. What I asked them to provide us in that channeled message is simply an explanation, a little bit more information about why that particular theme of you was what came forward for our month of October. That episode is going to be uploaded to YouTube and Spotify and all the places the day after this one. So if you're listening to this right when I published it, just give yourself 24 hours, be patient, and that one will come out. I want to remind you that if you are listening on one of the podcast platforms, I have lots more content on my YouTube channel than I actually do on the podcast platforms, mainly because all of the light language activations and guided meditations are only on YouTube. So if you're following me just on a podcast platform, hop on over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell and all the things so that you can get notified when I do those. I typically upload at least one light language activation or guided meditation per week at this point in time. So here we are. We are going to dive into the topic of you, but before we do, there are some fun little bits of information that I want to share with you, some things I'm really excited about for this month. First of all, many of you know that I will be taking my journey to Avalon. I'm going to come and see all of you over there. Mostly, I feel like so many of you from Europe and, of course, the United Kingdom are going to gather with me. I have 3 events scheduled. One is in Glastonbury on the 19th of October. The other one is occurring in Avebury at the Stone Circle on the 20th of October. And in the afternoon of that same day, I found a beautiful venue that's literally built into the earth. It looks like a hobbit home. And that one is going to take place in the Oxford area. So all of it's within, the 2 on the 20th are within about an hour and a half from London. So you can check out, all the transportation things because I know it's a little different depending on where you're coming from. But needless to say, I am just so excited to connect with you in person, which I am very passionate about. All of this grid work we're doing together, all this activating we're doing together, being called to actually journey, to go places if that's a possibility for us. So that is coming up here. Before I head over the ocean to the UK, I do have 2 events coming up in both Connecticut and Manhattan. So I'll be stopping off there. I'll be co-creating an incredible offering with Marissa of the Instagram account Starseed. Many of you, I am sure, follow her. She carries so many amazing divine feminine codes, earth mother codes, and what we decided to co-create together is a very special offering. It's called Star Mothers and Earth Ancestors, a channeling event. And so we're really going to bring through light language. We're going to bring through messages. This is actually going to occur in person in the middle of Manhattan because, of course, we're doing grid work there. This is what happened to me in March of this year. It was like Spirit said, oh, we're going to drop you right in the middle of Manhattan where all the hustle and bustle is, right by, the 42nd Street and all of the shows on Broadway, because this is where all the energy is. This is an energy center. This is where grid work will be the most effective. So that's where we're going to be again. Now, that being said, I know some of you are like, oh man, I really wish I could be there. I can't go all the way to Manhattan. No fear. There is a virtual aspect to this offering, and you can find out more in the link below. So those are kind of some main things that I have going on in person. I have a few other things I'll share with you later on that are all purely virtual, and that'll happen just further on in this episode. Now, diving into the topic of you, I'm sure you've had a few moments now to think about what that means. The thing that came up for me right away was the idea of turning inward. And I've talked about this before. This theme is not necessarily new to my audience because I've talked about how important it is. As much as we look outside ourselves for help and for new frequencies and for, guidance from our spirit family and our family of light, it's extremely important to look inside ourselves, to go within and to really connect with that source energy that we really truly came from. That is all that we are. We are source. Our wisdom can be within. And then I want to just kind of drop in and mention, in addition to knowing that that's the general idea of what the topic of you is as far as this monthly update, there are 3 little tips that the Star Mothers brought through, 3 ideas that I sort of collaborated with them. I was like, okay, let's break this down. I love the number 3. 3 is one of my favorite numbers. And so to make it easy for you to really lean into this idea of how to turn inward, there are 3 things that came forward. The first idea and the first concept was breath and stillness. And that reminded me of a more feminine energy coming forward. So breath and stillness, breath work is so powerful. I've been working a lot with Queenie Hilfer of Reiki and Flow Healing, and she just became certified as a hypno breathwork practitioner. And we did this during our Lemuria retreat. It was such an incredible experience to move that breath. And my guides have actually been telling me how important breath is for transmuting energy, all of the things that we kind of already know. But I'm just reminding you because sometimes even the most simple things are still extremely effective. So breath and stillness is that first kind of way to tap into you. And that's a lot of that going in. Now, another way to tap into you is through this second tip, which is movement and activity. And in addition to the word movement, I'd love to add embodied movement, really being in your body. And it's funny because this also came through in our Lemuria retreat just recently in September, where there was this whole time where we did this embodied movement and embodied flow. I am a yoga teacher, and that's something I've been doing for a while, but it was kind of different. I just decided to bring in this channeled movement and guide us in a way that I've never done before. I incorporated light language activation and movement and dance, and it was incredible to feel that. And if you were to look at it from an energetic perspective, technically you would have to say that's kind of more masculine expression. So we've got the breath and the stillness as the feminine energy, and the movement and the activity as the masculine energy. So you're exploring both the feminine and masculine aspects of you during this time of October. Was the invitation, I guess you could say. Now, there was an underpinning concept, a sort of a foundational theme that came forward because there are 3. So we've got the feminine, the masculine. We should be complete, right? Well, what the guides came forward with and what I sort of intuited with them was the concept of allowing your inner child to be an overlighting presence or a foundational presence, depending on how you see it, as you work through or move through the feminine and masculine energies and turn within. And so this inner child, there's so many reasons the inner child is important for us right now during this time of expansion and ascension, shift and change. And one of the reasons for that is because the most sort of aligned and whole version of our inner child is most likely the most carefree and the most willing to surrender, the most willing to be curious, the most willing to play and explore and adventure. And those are all things that are very, very crucial to this not only planetary ascension, but our personal ascension process. Sometimes we just take things too seriously. Recently in my light language mentorship, which I just started not very long ago, we were we're moving through some activations, and the guides just said, put a smile on your face. It's time to smile. It's time to bring the fairies in. It's time to bring your inner child in. And I could just feel the mood lift where everybody was like, oh, this is so serious. I hope I do this right. I hope I don't mess up. I'm really focusing. And the guides were like, take a breath. This should not be a drudgery. This should be a joy. And I want you to just take personal inventory and kind of decide, are you approaching your spiritual growth from the perspective of play and exploration? Or are you still allowing a little bit of that religious programming to creep in? Some of us have that residual energy in and around our field where it's like it has to be serious and we have to, go with the letter of the law and we have to check these lists off and we have to take all these courses and be certified and move through all these modalities or we're not complete. Because that is definitely not how our inner child would do it, right? Our inner child would run wild and free, paint, with art and just be creative and let that part of themselves guide their learning, right? It's like an inner guidance. And this is something that's really important to me because I feel that another kind of underlying idea behind this is the idea of our own sovereignty. And that's why I think we're going back to you, because it's like, this is not a season of gurus. We are releasing the need to have gurus. So that being said, what's coming up for me is to remind you, disconnect from social media sometimes, because we have that tendency to either idolize or compare, and that can be damaging. So if you're not the one you're looking at the reels of or the scrolling through and it's not you, because the focus of this month is you, then you're spending more time outside of you than inside of you. And that's just something to think about. Now, being that concept of you is so important for this month, it's interesting because I do have my light language mentorship going already, but I don't have any other offerings that aren't, like my regular offerings, my regular gatherings coming through, except for one that is all about you. And that is my Divine Awakening offering. I talked about this in last week's episode. So if you are listening to this right when it's published, on October 6th, there is a 2-week journey that begins, and it's co-facilitated by myself and my friend Anna, who are also doing the Sacred Initiation journey. Now, we are being overlighted by Goddess Isis, Green Tara, and the Hathors and many other ascended masters and goddesses. Why? Because we are reconnecting, I should say, with ourselves. And I promise you, I did not plan this. I literally, this offering was created a couple of weeks ago, probably like 3 weeks ago, because we just felt a need for it. It is a little bit shorter length offering. And so it's a lot doable for people who have busy schedules and a lot going on. But the focus is you. And I thought when this theme came forward, I was like, of course, that's why we're doing Divine Awakening. It's all about connecting with the part of yourself as a child of creation, as a divine being. So if that's something that you want to explore, feel free to check out the link below. It's just 2 live virtual sort of ceremonies that we're doing with Isis over lighting. And then there's some content that you'll find in a portal where Anna and I will bring through activations and channeled message, all with the idea and the intention of supporting you through this exploration of your inner self. Okay? And I just love how everything plays out so aligned, even though I don't always mean to do it. I mean, I have all my busy other life stuff going on and my guides kind of drop things in and align everything. Well, technically I do, right? My higher self does it. I'm just grateful, sitting in the frequency of gratitude, knowing all of this is in alignment. There is one other thing I want to drop in and mention as we wind up this episode, and with the reminder that don't forget to listen to the Star Mother's channeled message and activation. That is kind of the companion episode to this. But what I want to remind you is this. At the end of the month, so at the end of October, literally like 29th, the very, very end of the month, I have a pretty important offering. I consider it one of my very most expanding offerings, and this is multidimensional soul integration. This is a modality that I created after studying Dolores Cannon's work and feeling like it was a stepping stone, but in the new earth there was more to amplify from it that would become a modality, and that's where my guides dropped in, and I literally downloaded and channeled the whole modality of multidimensional soul integration. I feel so passionately about what this is. It's like past life regression exponential to the 10th degree, because you're not only experiencing and connecting with past lives, you are integrating those aspects back into your field so that you can access those gifts that you developed in other lives, and you can really express your multidimensional self as a way shower on the planet at this time. Not only do I have that offering for the general public, but I also have been drawn to create a practitioner training. I already did this in the spring of this year, and so I have 4 incredible MSI practitioners that are certified, that are trained, that are ready to go, that went through all of the education and the learning about the modality, and they're super incredible and very intuitive people. And I'm going to bring them on to a podcast later this month so you can hear from them about their experience with multidimensional soul integration. Now, that being said, all the info is below. I'm just barely touching on that because there's one last thing I want to mention before we wrap up. As you know, one of my favorite things to do is to create offerings that will support you in the monthly theme. And the one thing that I could come up with, because I did not feel drawn to do Akashic Records work, I did not feel drawn to do, some of the past life regression that I do during the month of October. I really felt like it was a time to lie low and just chill. And one of the things my guide said that I could do to support you all was to create an offering, which I am calling Cosmic Light Body Attunements. These are one-on-one sessions. So obviously there are a limited amount, but that's okay. I feel like everything will be in alignment. And these one-on-one sessions that I have available are designed to channel your galactic family, your star family, and any healers that are associated with your galactic family to be able to attune, align, and bring into harmony your light body, as it has been activated a lot over the last couple of months. So it's kind of like reset, make sure everything's integrated, and it's a lot of body work. I don't typically do that. So it was really funny when it came through. I was like, wait, did you just say light body attunement? They're like, yes. It's time for you to allow their conscious mind. They don't need to be asking questions about past lives and going into the mind. It's like, have them go into the body, have them feel into the body, surrender, and let us sort of attune according to whoever their galactic family and healers that they're contracted with are. You can just channel that through, and their bodies will be made more comfortable as they explore within this month. So that is my goal with those sessions. Again, these are the kind of the highlights of the month. There's a lot more going on. If you're not already subscribed to my monthly emails, I do like maybe 2 or 3 emails a month, but you're going to be the first to know about it. I have another big surprise. But you know what? I'm actually not going to mention it here on the podcast. I will put it in the details, the show notes. If you are listening to it right after I publish it, it might not be there yet because I'm actually announcing it at my Star Mothers Gathering, which occurs on September 30th at 2 p.m. Pacific. So if you're listening to it and you have time to sign up, you can. As soon as I've done that, I will put it in the show notes and you'll find out more about it. It'll be a link to the big surprise, the big reveal that I am really thrilled to be able to announce. So sorry for a cliffhanger, but that's where we're going to leave it. Don't forget to listen to the Star Mothers channeled message. Don't forget to like and subscribe, show your support. Join us in any way, shape, or form that you can to co-create this month. I'm sending you so much love and reminding you that I am you and you are me and we are we. Until next time.